Right. We're in. Hi, James.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. So we're about to begin the special council meeting. So I, first of all, just remind people that this is being recorded and live streamed, and anyone that will be on the screen will be recorded. I'd like to acknowledge the original custodians of the land on which we're meeting right across this Shire and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. Are there any apologies or leave of absence? No. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Okay, thanks, councillors. Now we do have a petition tonight, and I think Councillor Gaffney, you're going to speak to the petition.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the 26th of June, I was handed a petition. The action petition for is we, the undersigned, are concerned residents of Waganya who urge our councillors to recognise our concerns for the safety of pedestrians in Tratton Street, Waganya, and order the construction of a footpath in Tratton Street between Morley Drive and Blanche Street as a matter of priority. The petition is signed by 113 people who all give a Waganya address, and that 113 was obtained between the 19th of June and the 25th of June. I'd like to present this petition for council. That's my motion, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Goldsworthy, all those in favour? Carried. Councillor Gaffney, is this to be considered as a submission to the budget?
Yes, it's in the agenda for the meeting and is to be considered as a submission to the budget.
All right, thanks, councillor. All right, so our next item is the
CEO wishes to speak to you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, yes, CEO.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. What we were looking for was a recommendation that council, because under the local law, council needs to decide what to do with the petition. And so the recommendation is that the petition be acknowledged and be directed to be considered as part of the budget. So we need a resolution to say those things.
All right, thank you.
That's in the agenda papers.
Yep, sorry.
I'm happy to move, Madam Mayor, that this item becomes a submission to the budget and will be responded to by council at the meeting on the 30th of July, on the 28th of July.
Okay, so the recommendation, all right, do I have a seconder for that? Again, Councillor Goldsworthy. All right, all those in favour? Carried. All right, thanks for that. So we're now moving to the budget and council plan submissions. There were no submissions regarding the council plan, but we have had 14 submissions for the budget, and we have 7 people who have elected to speak to their submission tonight. So I think we'll get straight into that. So our first submitter is Anne Robbie. And her submission was number 14. So for councillors to be able to refer to that. Is Anne Robbie able to attend the meeting now, Director Pinkerton? Yes, hello. Welcome, Anne. How are you?
Thank you, Jenny.
You can see us?
Yes, well and truly.
All right. So, Anne, you would have been told it's a 5-minute submission.
That is feedback. Thank you.
Yep. And so I'll give you a warning at about 4.5 minutes, so you'll know you've got half a minute to go. So let me just get my little timer set up. Okay. Yes. So please do proceed.
I'm Anne Robbie. I'm a 76-year-old librarian who retired in 2007 from the former Ballyando Shire in Western Queensland. My submission covers my reasons for moving to Beechworth and the fact that my son and grandchildren are all keen mountain bikers, but we love the historical aspects of Beechworth. But my focus today is on the lack of footpaths in the town. Since living in Beechworth, our many interstate and Melbourne visitors have remarked what a wonderful, beautiful town it is, but to walk around, they depreciate the lack of footpaths, and once you leave Fort Street and the historical precinct. In 2018, as a member of Probus, I wrote a submission to council and about the footpaths and the ladies, and the only footpath that had been repaired was mine, which was damaged by the builder who's now defunct for the house next door, and the council did this as there was no redress. The pleas of the other ladies, mostly older and frailer in health than I am, were ignored. I find the council's habit of lumping in footpaths as poor relation to the rail trail is especially confronting. As far as I'm aware, there are absolutely no charges for use of these very expensively maintained facilities, while the council can afford to borrow money to expand the facilities, but they're not prepared to supply us, the ratepayers of the Shire, with suitable footpaths, when the said ratepayers are not only footing the bill for these facilities, but is also paying everybody's wages. The age group I represent is from 65 to 100 years of age, and there are quite a few of us. I was unable to find in your demographics. The oldest that I could find was 65. Please don't shrug us off as doddering old people with no brains. Most of us are extremely active and we still vote. We ask that the council consider our needs and make a concerted effort to help us stay in our homes, be productive members of our community. This is the lesser cost to our community, as once in high or low care, the cost to the community is astronomical. And while council does not actually have to pay for this, the state and federal governments do, and the flow-on effect applies. Since I mentioned in the Probus newsletter, which is the major means of communicating with our members in the current crisis, I've received phone calls from members, some in Finch Street, who find it extremely difficult to use mobility aids to exit their home. Surely it's within council's best interest to ensure the safety of these people and not be at risk of being sued for damages in the event of a fall. I myself receive at least 2 emails a month telling me that as a senior I can use no win, no pay legal facilities, and this worries me because as a former council employee, legal expenses and public liability are literally black holes that councils pour money into. I would like to express my appreciation to the Beechworth staff members of Indigo Shire who so promptly, really promptly responded to my husband and my many photographs of dangerous trip hazards and trees downs and things around on the footpaths. We enjoy being the eyes of the council and keeping Beechworth safe. I would like one clarification about the only footpaths to be built in the Shire's present budget, which is in a new subdivision. Jenny, perhaps, or perhaps Trevor, you can sort me out on this. But when I worked in Queensland, it was an LGAA designation that subdivision, all new subdivisions had to provide the roads, footpaths, water, sewage, drainage and electricity. So if that is so in Queensland, and if so, why is the council having to pay for a footpath in a subdivision that somebody's made a lot of money out of? I have contacted the new local government minister, the Honourable Danny Pearson, for his views on this, and also to ask what funds are available to council under the ageing strategy, and also Helen Hames, because this is something very dear to my heart. I have elderly ladies in my group and elderly gentlemen, and if they're living at Stringy Bark or if they're living at Hillsborough, they have a path into town. But if they're living in Finch Street or Stanley Road or any of the others, I'm fine. I'm fine. I have a footpath past my house that is in perfect condition. But I'm talking on behalf of my Probus members because I'm now the president. I went and had a look today, took some photographs. Finch Street's exactly the same as it was when I took the photographs in 2018. And the footpath is dependent on the homeowner as to its condition. No matter how meticulous the care, when it rains, the footpath turns to mud. In summer, it turns to dust. It's just not good enough for a wheelie walker, and even the mobility skills just don't work. What I would ask is to do this. Please don't hire another consultant to work on this. It's simply a matter of looking up the Ageing Well guidelines, writing the submission to the state and federal government, and I'm sure the present council has employees that have qualifications to do this. I did it as a librarian. I got the funding for the Belyando Shire Council as it was then, new library and offices, and it came in time, on time, budget completed.
Thank you. And your time's up now. Thank you very much.
That's all I have to say.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for that.
Move us on with the next one.
You did ask a question. Can we won't be answering questions tonight. We're really just listening.
No, I have no further.
We'll take that on notice and we'll send you an email response around.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to know the results.
Yep.
Thank
Thank you, Anne. Before you go, are there any questions for clarification from councillors? Sorry, we just give everyone an opportunity. They might want to clarify something. Otherwise, thank you for your submission, Anne. And thanks for coming up to the Shire office to make it.
Well, that's fine. There's no Zoom at my place.
It's okay. It is a problem. Okay.
I'll send you next one.
So I think we're on pause now. Sorry, this is a bit tricky. We've got obviously Greg's helping people get in front of cameras. So our next submitter is Anna Nielsen, I think, sorry, I should say. And Anna is speaking to submission number 4. And Anna's coming in from another location. So I'm just waiting to see whether Greg Pinkerton's helping. Oh, I can see Anna's joining us now. Taking a second. Okay, so I think Anna's there. Anna, have you got your video camera turned on and your microphone? If you're able to do that. It looks like you've joined us, but we can't see or hear you yet. Is anyone able to help Anna?
Jenny, when you look at the participants list, it appears that she's got her mic on and the video on. So I'd say there might be a technical problem.
Okay, so Matt, I'm gonna, yeah, you're right, I can see that.
Yeah, it's Matt here. I can't sort of tell from this end.
All right, so we're waiting.
So Matt, can we take that one out to the waiting room and see if it can be resolved in there? Get someone else on board.
So Anna, you may be able to hear us and see us, but we're actually not able to hear and see you at this stage. So we're just going to get our administrator to see if you can sort something out. Yes, Greg.
So we have Sandra at the council chambers and we could move on to Sandra if that's...
All right, that'd be great. And then we'll come back to Anna and see if we're able to sort out the issue there.
So okay. Just 30 seconds and we'll get Sandra all sorted.
No problem. And I'm sure we are all wishing that we could be doing this face-to-face in a room. Clearly that's not the case at the moment. So for those people watching, please bear with us. It's not how we want to be doing things, but it's at the moment really the safe way that we can all be in a place to hear, in the one place to hear the submissions and allow other people to be able to hear them as well. So unfortunately we have to do it using technology rather than face-to-face again. So at the moment we're waiting for Sandra Williams, who is submission number 12, for anyone that's got the agenda in front of them. And Greg is going to bring Sandra in. So go and make a cup of tea, maybe if you're at home. Oh, there's Sandra. So Sandra's muted. Hello, Sandra.
Pardon?
Okay, thank you, Sandra. So Sandra, you've got 5 minutes and I'll give you a warning at 4.5. I'll put my hand up. Can you see us?
Yes.
Okay, I'll put my hand up, so I'll wave at you when 4.5 minutes is up, just so you kind of can pace yourself.
Thank you.
So your submission is number 12 and I'll get you to start as soon as you're ready.
Okay, I'm speaking as a 5th generation beachwork person in the over 50s age group, which according to the last census constitutes almost half of the beachwork population and 45% of the Indigo Shire, a significant ratepayer demographic. I believe that the funding choices have led to serious inequities in Indigo Shire. Looking at the different projects and demographic groups, including residents and tourist needs and interests, I believe the seniors demographic is becoming increasingly disenfranchised and disgruntled. The interests of the younger 31% of the Shire's 20 to 48-year-old group appear to receive priority. This seems to be pretty obvious from the recent independent community satisfaction survey. I think it's timely for council to step up and address seniors' concerns better. Just to note now about cycle tourism. In the 4-year term of this council, $12 million of public funds have been secured to produce the market the rail trails and cycleways. For whatever economic benefit that's given us so far, there continues to be at least 10 vacant shops in Beechworth and the loss of substantial accommodation B&B businesses. How many cyclists are actually using the existing rail trails? One quote that we've had is 31,000 per annum. Where's the business case for cycle tourism? A seasonal pursuit after all. Where are the statistics supporting this multi-million-dollar funding outlay, given that it's a free activity for visitors? Indigo residents have to pay to use, for example, their swimming pools, and there is not even one heated pool Shire-wide. Who's going to pay for the ongoing maintenance of the extensive cycleways? The ratepayers. An example of gross inequity, I would say. Now, talking about heritage assets and the promotion of history, the minutes of the council meeting held on the 28th of August 2018 state that 322 people, that number including at least a third representing industry insiders and stakeholders, responded to council's stated extensive consultation opportunities. Most telling was that only 18 people attended the 10 public drop-in sessions offered across the whole Shire. There were 35 letters from the public. Some mentioned heritage marketing choices, but a traditional, not contemporary promotional approach was favoured. On the 17th of December 2019, the council closed down the Burke Museum and History Advisory Committee and the Heritage Advisory Committee. These committees have not been replaced, so it's bye-bye to community involvement and consultation. What happened since was the promotion of the Ned Kelly Alive project in the Beechworth Courthouse, a $1 million project half funded by ratepayers. It's promoted as an augmented reality contemporary immersive experience, and I would say that half of Beechworth may not understand exactly what that means. Ongoing maintenance cost will be $50,000 per annum. This project is based off the success of a free activity in Rouen, France. Is our project going to be free? I don't think so. It's yet another example of council not having true input from the residents and running with urban consultants, Tourism Northeast and council staffers. This attraction alone is meant to bring 100,000 extra visitors a year. Do we have the infrastructure to cope with this? For example, parking and toilet facilities? I don't think so. And will local region historians and technical specialists receive spin-off employment opportunities? I wonder if they're local or not. It's not worth noting that consultants are being paid $90,000 for a master plan for the historic precinct, and the Tourism Northeast Board, with a cycling, adventure, snow, foodie, wine bias, if you don't believe me, just have a look at their website, enjoys $190,000 a year contribution from Indigo ratepayers. So what about our neglected Shire Hall? $40,000 in recent years and $20,000 this coming year just for electrical works. This is a significant public hall used by lots of people that deserves better. Regarding actual capital works for funding and renewal and upgrading to heritage buildings, $880,000 was promised in the draft budget introduction, but the breakdown on page 30 shows nowhere near that total.
Your time's up, Sandra.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your submission. Are there any clarifying questions from councillors? Councillor Gaffney.
Did Sandra say that there's been $12 million spent on cycling and cycling management in the term of this council? Sorry,
Sandra, do you want to answer that?
Yes, so I believe.
Is that right, CEO?
I don't have access to those figures right now. I'd like to see the basis of that assertion. Yeah, have a look at it.
I read that in a draft in a submission actually, and I think it's quoted somewhere on that particular meeting, the 28th of August 2018. I think you'll find it in there.
I couldn't imagine it, but I'd like to see the figures. But
just to clarify, I think, was that the funding for the whole Nevco project, Sandra? Because that's not all in Indigo Shire. There's
I did say public funding.
Yes, okay. So just to be clear, not all of that 12 million was in Indigo Shire. And perhaps Director Ian Ellett, are you able to clarify how much of the Nevco funding was actually allocated to Indigo?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Thank you. 5.2 million has been what's been allocated to Indigo Shire as part of the Beechworth Yak Rail Trail, and that's been delivered over 3 years. So we're part way through that, and the remainder of the funds have gone in other directions.
Yeah, and our contribution was 500,000. Is that correct, or was it?
No, 1 million. It was 500 in the funding agreement, but we spent $500,000 in the lead up to that. So 1 million plus 5.2 from the state government.
So a total of 6.2. Just to clarify that, Sandra, and the 12 that you refer to includes other shires as well, but that's okay. We just need to make that clear.
If I may say so, I think there's an extra 4 million for marketing coming up.
That's across the entire project, not just in.
And I think also there's going to be a run out on bridges between here and Yakandandra, from what I've been observing.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you for your submission. Any other questions for Sandra? Just checking. Sorry, I've got to just make sure I've seen everybody. No, and I think that's it, Sandra. Thank you for your submission.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming up to the Shire office and putting yourself out to make the submission to us. We appreciate that you've made that.
It's not just a sport, I'm here to tell you. It's important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. We're going to try again to go back to Anna Nielsen, who is joining from other location, not quite sure where that is. I assume her own computer. Hello, Anna. I can see you're there again. How are we going, Matt? Have we got any luck with getting Anna into the meeting?
No luck. I've tried to make contact, but I have no reply.
Okay. All right. So, Greg Pinkerton, I'm going to leave you to see if you can help Matt out with trying to get Anna into the meeting. Our next submitter is Ruth Kneebone, Paul Ryan and Anita Smith. Are they from the Into Our Hands Foundation? Are they ready to come into the meeting? Because we're a fair bit ahead. Oh, no, we're only a couple of minutes. Yes, I can see Paul. Hi, Paul. And we've got Ruth and Anita. Are they, Paul, are Ruth and Anita sitting in, oh, here comes Ruth. You're in different places?
Yeah, we're all separate.
Yeah, okay. So I've got two of you and I'm just waiting on, I've got Ruth, Paul, and I'm waiting on Anita. Sorry, we're having a bit of technical issues, as you can imagine.
No, I don't imagine that.
Yeah.
Just Matt from admin here. I don't have Anita in the waiting room at all.
Okay. All right. So Paul and Ruth, are you willing to start without Anita? She's not in the waiting room. She hasn't joined the meeting.
We are a couple of minutes early, which is
okay. I can see it coming now.
But we can. Oh yes.
All right. So just to give you three the heads up, it's a 5-minute presentation. We're sticking very strictly to the guidelines. I'll give you a warning at 4.5 minutes. I might if you give me 1 second, I might just grab an empty glass or something so I can tap on it, because otherwise I cut you off and I don't like doing that. So just give me 1 sec and I'll grab a glass.
Paul and Anita.
Yes.
I've timed my section. It goes for 2 minutes.
Okay.
So just so you know.
All right, now I'll see if this works. I'm you know, there you go. That'll work, won't it? You'll hear me if I do that.
Perfect.
All right. So I'm going to put my screen up.
Very high tech. Okay. Oh, now I've dropped my pen. Just give me another second. Sorry, guys. Trying to work all this out. Thank you for your patience. So Anita, can't see you as yet. Anita, have you got your?
Yeah, sorry, I don't have capacity for a screen, so
That's okay, and we can hear you. So who'd like to start? So just councillors, this is Ruth Kneebone, Paul Ryan, and Anita Smith from the Into Our Hands Community Foundation, and the submission is submission number 7. So I'll. Who's starting off?
I'm starting, but I'm just wanting to share my screen. Can I can't see the button to do that on.
Yeah, you can. You should be able to do it. Working. We do actually have the just so you know, we do.
Oh, yes, I can. I can. Okay. I've expanded. I can do it now.
Okay.
Did
you want to say something?
I was just going to offer to share my screen, and then Ruth could guide me. But if you're all right to go, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll put it on presentation and I'll just. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, lovely. All right, so well, hello, Indigo Shire councillors. Thank you for considering our budget submission. I won't introduce my fellow board members because you've just done that, Jenny. So council and Indigo Into Our Hands, I believe, have a really strong shared vision, which is to support our communities. And our particular vision is community capacity for good forever. And we want you to know about us. We want you to know that, and we want to present ways that we can work together. And we'd also like you to make a small contribution towards our operations for the next couple of years, which is the basis of our submission. Our presentation will follow the lines of our strategic report, that is grow our fund, invest in the community and be trusted and well governed. So I'm going to do the grow our fund section, and a key pillar of that growth is a project that we are about to embark on, and based on a report that we recently commissioned. It's called Our Prosperity Realised. That project was an Australian first analysis of how much wealth is transferred to the next generation over a period of 50 years for our region. This graph on the screen shows how much for SA2 statistical areas will be transferred in the next 5 years. So you can see Beechworth, Chiltern, Rutherglen and Yakandanda there on that graph. Those amounts add up to 267 million, and the total on that graph for all 4 municipalities is 1.16 billion. So we think there's an untapped potential in those numbers. The next graph shows what I think is very interesting for Indigo Council, that Indigo Shire has the highest average wealth transfer per household. So not the total, not the greatest total overall, but per household, Indigo is the highest. What that data, there's a lot of other data, but we've only got 5 minutes. this data has enabled us to run scenarios. So for instance, if 10% of households gave 5% of their wealth on their passing to a community foundation, that foundation could accumulate an endowment of $10 million within 8 years. And what that would mean could be $2.2 million in community grants accumulative over 10 years. So just imagine the possibility of coupling a share of that with council's community grants program. I'm now going to hand over to Anita to talk about investing in the community.
Thanks, Ruth. I think the opportunity for the Into Our Hands Foundation, and I've just joined the board, is that there's an opportunity to run what we call sub-funds. And it's really a way to grow very much place-based community giving. There is a range of sub-funds at the moment, and you can see that on your screen. But what it does is enables, the foundation brings with it the expertise and the governance experience to really support the delivery of these sub-funds without councils themselves or other community groups having to undertake management of these sub-funds. And I think there's an opportunity, if we think about Indigo in particular, certainly a lot of grants are provided to some of the more tourism sort of locations, such as Beechworth, Yakandanda and Rutherglen. But what's often overlooked is those communities where there is a bit of social disadvantage, if I think about Chiltern. So this is a way too that we can support some really place-based activity to really sort of grow and support those communities that are perhaps needing that support. And then if we move to the next slide, we give a bit of an overview of the sort of grants that have been provided by the foundation up till now. And obviously there's nearly $1 million worth of grants. And of those, around about 260,000 has been provided to the Indigo Shire recipients, including a couple out of the 2020 bushfire funds, including some for the Begonias Med Shed and a bushfire forum. We also are in discussion at the moment with the Victorian Bushfire Appeal Fund, and it is an opportunity that we might be able to support, again, some distribution of funds into impacted communities. So again, we bring that intel and support into communities without having to set up another governance structure to manage those funds.
So I'm going to have to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I hope you heard my 30-second warning, but you're actually out of time. I'll give you another 30 seconds just to wind it up, but we're really, really needing to stick to the time. I'm really sorry, guys, but we've just got too many to get through. So I'll give you another 30 seconds and then Paul, over to you.
Thanks, Jenny. And maybe go to the last slide, Ruth. And really the ask is that we're looking for $10,000 per year for 3 years from council to partner with us to do exactly what Ruth talked about, which is to channel the wealth that's sitting there and moving through our communities through generational movement, is to move that into projects that can help support communities. And so the $10,000 a year from council would help support us over the next 3 years as we build our capacity to do that. So that's really what the ask is about. And it comes with it a whole range of kind of benefits for council as well as for us.
Okay, right on time. Thank you. Thanks. I'm sorry, it's not very long, I realise, but as you can imagine, we get lots of submissions, so we really have to tighten things up. But we have read your submission. We've also got your presentation, so we do have all the information. So not everyone does present, and we still consider everything that is put before us. So just to reassure you that everything that you've submitted will be considered in detail. So do I have any questions from councillors? No, I don't. Councillor Shepherd.
Hi, thanks for that presentation. Look, I'm certainly more interested in hearing more about what you have to say, and maybe this isn't the forum for it. So I'm just suggesting there might be an opportunity to do another time where we could hear something a little bit longer, because I can see some potential in working with the community foundation. So I'm not sure whether the other councillors agree, but I'd certainly be interested.
So in line with that, actually, the CEO and I did have an opportunity to meet with the Into Our Hands Foundation board, but I can't think off the top of my head who the name of the person, but it was really interesting.
Ruth was one of them, and it was the executive.
It was Ruth, but who was
executive
the
officer?
Yeah,
Executive Officer Sarah Thompson.
Yeah, so I think it would be good to have a briefing, because I certainly learned a lot through doing that. So if councillors are interested in that, irrespective of the budget submission, very happy to put that we include you in a briefing sometime over the next coming period of time. Like, they're usually booked up a bit of a way ahead, but it would be a great opportunity. So if you're willing to do that, councillors, would everybody agree that it would be good to get more detail?
Yeah, I'm happy for that to occur.
Okay, great. So we'll leave that with our, with Trevor. I'm going to hand that one over to you for now, because I can't find Kath on the screen. Okay, good. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Okay.
Apologies for the very short timelines, but as I said, we do have everything you've put there, and Trevor and I also have a bit of knowledge from the meeting we had, Ruth. So we can.
Yeah, so thank you. We would welcome that opportunity to expand on our work and our very brief presentation that we've just made.
Okay.
Thanks very much for listening.
I appreciate you making the effort and all of the work you put into your submission. Thank you very much. Okay,
thank you.
So I'll say goodbye, and there's Mark already there. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Jen. Hi, everyone.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Okay, I'll just wait, because we've still got the last submitters are still in our meeting room. So I think they're gone now. Okay, so our next submitter is not Sandra Williams, as it says on the screen. It's Mark Stevens, of course, from the Beechworth Historic and Heritage Society. And this is submission number 10. So, Mark, you get 5 minutes, and I give you a 30-second warning by tapping on the jar. Could anyone hear that before? Oh God, I'm trying to find the right way to give you.
Just wave at me.
I'll wave.
Yeah.
I'll try that, and people don't say. I might yell at you, Mark. Sorry, it's really hard to get it across without just cutting straight into what you're saying. So anyway, if you don't see me, I'll just let you know. So I'll give you a warning at 4.5 minutes, give you 30 seconds to finish off. Okay?
Okay.
Off you go.
So, look, I'm from the Beechworth History and Heritage Society, and we've got over 200 members now, and I just want to really stress the importance of heritage tourism. It's #1 tourism in the world, and we really need to stress it here in the Indigo Shire. So, look, I'd like to start with a big thank you to the team who've done the work on the old town hall in Beechworth. It's exactly the sort of thing that we want to see, some really good basic maintenance of our wonderful historic assets. And we really do have world-class assets. So please don't underestimate it. Now, what we want to do is see Indigo Shire making heritage tourism the highest priority, and that the Shire is once again promoted as a heritage Shire and marketed accordingly to a wide demographic, not just millennials. We want to look at the whole spectrum and make Beechworth and Indigo Shire #1 Australian heritage tourist destination. And we need to build that into our budget and into our whole outlook. We believe that Indigo Shire Council should adopt a heritage charter so that as time goes forward, heritage remains as #1. And we want to create heritage advisory committees rather than close them down. And we want to install and restore heritage signage throughout the Shire. And on the freeway, we've been trying for years to get heritage signage back up there, and all it says is cycling or wine region. So please address that. Now, we're a bit concerned about the hologram sound and light show because there's no real contact between council and the citizens and the ratepayers. It could well be a really good project, but please include us in the creation of this $1 million investment. Also, we're worried about the Ned Kelly Vault. Now, Ned Kelly Vault is a fantastic thing, and it's brought 140,000 people through its doors. So that translates to easily over $1 million, and the same applies to the telegraph station. We don't want that pulled to bits. Now, my understanding is that we're going to lose all that precious real Ned Kelly memorabilia, and that it's going to go down south, probably to Glenrowan or down to Melbourne, and that'd be a disaster. You know, we've got the real thing. Also, we want to be part of the master plan for the precinct. Why not have a couple of our representatives on there? So we cut through this them and us thing. I think there's a lot of room for getting on together with heritage tourism. Now, this one's a very interesting one, and we're all really upset that the old post office has been sitting idle for so long and it looks terrible. We'd like to see it, that for sale sign come down, and we'd like Indigo Shire to come along with us and apply for federal, state and community funding and get that building up as an amazing gold rush post office. It can be fixed with not too much effort, and because if it continues as a post office museum, then you don't have to change much. Yes, all right.
10 seconds.
Okay, one more.
Yep.
The Beechworth Good Shed. Now, please bring us on board with this as well, because it could make a really good transport museum down there as well. Okay, coffee for the cyclists, but a transport museum with a few of the old carriages and maybe some steam engine in there would really add to our heritage product.
Oh, you've got 3, 2, 1. Well done, Mark. Thanks, Mark. Okay, so do I have questions from councillors for clarification for Mark? No, I think you're. You've
Diane.
Very. Oh, sorry, Di. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Shepherd.
Thanks, Mark. Well done on the 200 members of the Beechworth History and Heritage Society. I'm just wondering, is there a charter, or can we get to see what the plans are with that group? What you're planning to do at some stage?
Yeah, thanks, Di. Look, everything's in that wonderful 86-page document that we put out, reclaiming our Beechworth heritage. Did you get a copy of that?
Yes, I've read that, and I replied to the email address about it. But I'm interested, not necessarily now, but to see an outline of your charter and what you're going to be doing as a group. I think it'd be interesting for us to.
Yeah, well, I'll email that to all the councillors. It's when I get home. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Mark. And Mark, let me just say that while I didn't necessarily agree with some of the suggestions in the heritage document, the history that actually was the first part of that document was absolutely fantastic. I assume it was Bill Wilson that wrote that, or a few of you, but it was great. And I actually learned a lot about the town I live in. So it was.
Oh, thanks, Jen. Yeah, it was Bill. He wanted to take a bit of a back seat, but.
Oh, well, it was really interesting, and I did learn about things I really didn't know anything about. So that was great, even though I've lived here for a while, not long enough, obviously. So appreciated that.
Thanks,
so any other questions for Mark? No, well, we've got your submission, Mark, and obviously what you've put in for it to us to read as well, and the document that we all did get, all the councillors did get that. So thank you for your work and your effort, and the Historic and Heritage Society, and for making the time to come up and address us tonight, having to
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
come out of home. Thank you for doing that.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark. All right, so back to the administrator. Matt, the next person is Catherine Copsey from the Alliance for Gambling Reform. So Catherine's zooming in from another location. So Matt, is Catherine in the waiting room? Yes, she is. Hello, Catherine.
Hello.
How are
Hello.
you?
I'm well, thank you.
Where are you zooming in from?
I'm zooming in from Albert Park this evening.
Okay.
Great to be
All
with
right.
you.
The other end of the state. Well, thank you for making the time. We're sticking to a pretty rigid time frame, so it's 5 minutes, and at 4.5 minutes I'm going to wave at you, and if you don't notice, I'll yell.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, we're going through. So when you're ready, and obviously we've all got your submission and been able to read that from the Gambling Reform Society, of which you've raised a lot of really important issues, so thank you for that. So if you're happy to start, we'll go from now.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Mayor and councillors, and thank you very much for providing an opportunity to speak to the submission, given the difficult circumstances we all find ourselves in. So my name is Catherine Copsey. I'm here on behalf of the Alliance for Gambling Reform this evening. My role with the Alliance is the Council Gambling Harm Advisor, and you have seen our submission, which is requesting for Indigo Shire to join the group of leadership councils supporting the Alliance with an annual membership of $5,000. So tonight, thank you very much for providing the opportunity. I really wanted to simply make myself available to answer any questions you may have, but I'll give a very quick overview of the Alliance and our work and the way that councils contribute to our work as well. So the Alliance for Gambling Reform is Australia's only national advocacy organisation seeking to reduce harm from gambling, which is a bit of I would say, a blind spot that we have in Australia. We have very, very high levels of gambling harm and gambling normalisation in Australian culture. And the Alliance is a non-partisan registered health organisation that works to reduce those levels of harm through advocacy for evidence-based reform to reduce the damage that can be done by gambling products and to raise awareness around the impacts that normalisation can have. When I was writing to the Shire, it was an interesting submission to be writing because I'm aware you don't have poker machines in the municipality, which is a real blessing in many ways. I think that there's still probably a great potential for me, certainly before I came into working with this role about 18 months ago. I think it really flies under the radar just how prevalent harm from gambling can be. And that's certainly something that's come through to me in working in this role. And I know, I don't want to presume about councillors' experience or whether you know people who have been affected by gambling harm as well. But we do know that people, it's often something that's quite stigmatised, and that's one of the things that we work to challenge. We have some fantastic programs that I wanted to highlight this evening, as well as our work to reduce harm from pokies through evidence-based reforms like advocacy for $1 maximum bets, reducing harmful machine features like losses disguised as wins, which can keep people playing even though they're losing overall. And also simple things like reducing the opening hours. In Victoria, we have some of the longest opening hours permitted for gambling venues. And all of those things, if enacted, would have rapid impact on bringing down harm from gambling. I'm also very excited to share that after many years of wanting to have the capacity, this year the Alliance has launched for the first time a campaign to end gambling advertising. So online gambling and sports gambling. Pokies is the largest financial share and impact of gambling harm in Australia, but online and sports gambling is the fastest growing. And we know that some of the impacts around gambling advertising, particularly as it relates to sports broadcast, is really normalising gambling behaviour, especially for kids. So we're very proud that this year we have, despite all the challenges, successfully gone ahead and launched our campaign to end gambling advertising. So that's something that is really applicable to us at a national level. And we're very pleased to be leading the charge on that front as well. Finally, the last program I wanted to touch on is our Champions for Change program. So we're very passionate at the Alliance about elevating the voices of those people with lived experience, people who have personally come through gambling harm or have seen a family member harmed. It's a crucial part of any movement, and any real movement for change is enabling people who have had personal experience of that issue to have a voice. And so we're very proud and pleased that we're hearing more and more lived experience voices come to the fore when it comes to the issue of gambling harm. And we're proud to have worked with a number of people and provided support so that that can happen. Councils have a really long history of involvement with the Alliance. We're a relatively young organisation. However, councils are some of our core supporting members, and we'd loved Indigo to join and be part of this growing group of strong councils leading the charge. What you get out of it, as well as being a leader for your community. My role is to work with each of the leadership councils on priorities for local action. So that can range from anything, as well as participating in our broader advocacy. Councils may be doing policy refresh or wanting to embark on a bit of a community education and awareness raising campaign. All of those sorts of things I and the team facilitate depending on what council's priorities are at any given time.
Seconds.
Yes, great. I might wind up there. If there's any quick questions, I'm very happy to answer them, but otherwise, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
We'll have a chance to work together.
And I will say we are very proud of our record as being a local government that, how many years ago now, Barb or Bernie? Or
Larry, 15.
15 years, yeah, where we just said we didn't want poker machines in Shire, and every council has stood by that. And irrespective of who the members of the council are, it's been a consistent policy, and we are really proud of it. So do I have questions from councillors? I've got Larry and then Di. So Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Catherine, if you know the impact of gambling in the Indigo Shire.
Well, because because you don't have machines to report against in the Shire, I can't give you a dollar value as I would normally. And we can estimate based on population figures for the national figures for online gambling. I don't have that to hand, but I'm happy to follow up and try and give you a local estimate. What we are seeing, of course, is that any money at the moment that is being spent on gambling products is not staying in the local community. And so I think, particularly given the effort that councils are going to at the moment to try and boost local economy and keep that money staying in local businesses, it's really important that we reduce that impact and try and stave off some of the predatory advertising, frankly, that's been happening during this period of the shutdown.
Yeah. Councillor Shepherd.
Hi, Catherine. I'm just interested, most of those councils are larger city councils. I'm wondering on the cost, is it a pro rata costing? $5,000 to us means a lot more than $5,000 to Darebin. So
correct.
Just checking on that, just checking
yes,
on
yeah.
whether there's bargains or discount prices.
Well, actually, so I'm terribly sorry to break it to you, but this is the discount price. We recognised some time ago that cost could be a barrier for some of the smaller regional councils. Or it's basically worked out now on a per head, like population basis, and you are in the lower tier of the membership fees there. So it's reflected in our request.
Okay.
Thank you.
No worries.
Any other questions for clarification for Catherine? Okay, so Catherine, as I said, we've got your submission. It is a very lengthy submission, but that you raised many important issues in there. And if you could send back through to me that information that Councillor Goldsworthy asked for, I'll make sure the councillors will get that.
Sure.
Around what would be the impact in Indigo, given that we don't have pokies. But yes, of course, we know people are obviously, the online gambling thing would be a reality in our community as well. So some sense of that would be good. Anything else from councillors? Catherine, thank you so much for making the time for us tonight. And obviously, we'll be considering your submission as we look at the budget.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All the best with your deliberations,
Yeah, thank
councillors.
you.
And
Okay, take care. Thank you. And we've already got Robin. Hi, Robin. So Robin is in the Pines, and Robin is speaking to submission number 13. So welcome, Robin. And usually, as you know, we would be doing this in person. So it is a very different, it's a different thing seeing you on a screen, Robin, but thank you for making the effort to come and speak to us during this very strange time. We're giving people 5 minutes, and at 4.5 minutes, I'll wave at you. And if you can't hear me, I'll yell at you, just so you know that you've got 30 seconds left to go. If we're ready to go, I'll get you to start your submission now.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to my submission. The budget document is very important. It takes a long time for council staff to compile it, and it's important that it contains no errors. Last year's budget report, draft budget report, contained far too many errors, which were ultimately corrected by the people who proofread it. This year, it's an improvement, but disappointingly, you managed to get the front page incorrect. This is not the Indigo Shire budget report. It is the Indigo Shire draft budget report, and it would be better if it was done correctly and people attended to what should be the correct document. Further on, we have previously had the full-time equivalent staffing numbers quoted within the budget. It was quoted on page 22 of the 2019-20 budget. Is it included in this document? I can't find it. Perhaps, certainly it could be included in the final document that goes out. It is helpful. I'll pass to landfill rehabilitation. Indigo Shire has 4 landfill sites that are closed and awaiting rehabilitation. The Environmental Protection Authority has never served notice on Shire to carry out the rehabilitation work on the sites. But for more than 10 years, Council has been imposing an annual charge on ratepayers to carry out rehabilitation works, and the amount now collected exceeds $3.5 million, and no real rehabilitation work has been carried out. Also, the Environmental Protection Authority has not defined the work that's required to be carried out on the sites. Council has expressed its concern for global warming, and abandoned landfill sites such as these can be a significant source of methane gas leakage to the atmosphere. The Environmental Advisory Committee should be working with Council to address this situation. Work should commence on these sites now. The environmental management contribution. This is the most recent description for the charge imposed on ratepayers for landfill rehabilitation and other unrelated costs. The budget document should identify the charges that are located in this cost centre to, to ensure that the rehabilitation charge is clearly identified and other unrelated charges are transferred back to the regular reporting section. Ned Kelly Alive, the Courthouse Light and Sound Show. The capital works section of the budget lists this activity with a 2020-21 project cost of $280,000. Ratepayers should be able to identify the total $1 million cost of this activity, and a column should be added to the capital works section to reflect the total cost to complete the project as and when it was originally included in the budget. On the Plate Layers Cottage, funds to reclaim this building have been included in previous budgets. This is yet another example of Council's inability to manage community buildings for which it is responsible. The building owned and managed by Council was originally available for rental accommodation, but was declared unsuitable 10 years ago through lack of maintenance and a lack of duty of care afforded the Council. A disgraceful council meeting where councils indulge in a mine is bigger than yours outpouring of unsubstantiated renovation estimates, which should have been stopped by the mayor, saw this building facing demolition. The Lions Club has obtained a small grant to begin work on the building, which is commendable, but council made no grant submission to preserve this building that is their responsibility. Council has lost 10 years of rental income through their incompetence, money which should have been used to maintain this building. We need rental accommodation for our young people who want to remain and work in the town. Council should review this situation and commit funds for the restoration of the building and allocate its management to a professional agent. The mountain bike trail, this project should be delayed until the current rail trail project is complete and its success can be evaluated. With the coronavirus pandemic, now is not the time for council to be seeking loans to implement this project. The Beechworth swimming pool, with the forecast closure of the existing Beechworth pool, council should be initiating a project to construct and operate a pool complex that will satisfy the needs of our older residents for therapeutic exercises in a heated pool, together with an all-year-round pool for our young people and tourists.
Your time is up.
Wasn't that good?
You packed a lot in.
Right on time.
Sorry?
Right on time.
Right on time. Was that your final bit, was it?
Oh, yes, that's the final
You got
bit.
it to the second. All right. So, okay, you've outlined a number of requests there and brought to attention a number of issues. Are there any questions for Robin from councillors?
I do have a question in general. Would it be difficult to have a total expenses column at the end of those capital works when they're carried forward from previous years?
We're having a little bit of trouble hearing what you're saying, Larry.
Oh, sorry. Do you want to repeat that, Larry?
Yeah, I'm just asking the CEO, would it be difficult to have a total expenses column at the end of some of those capital works that are carried forward from different years? You know, what Robin suggested in there.
Well, wouldn't be difficult because we know the numbers, but we do follow a template that's the same across the state, and the template doesn't provide for that sort of detail. You can keep track of them. We'll report what the actuals are this year, and we'll have budget for the next 1 or 2, 3 years, or the next 4 years, and people can then add those up and add them together. So it is another layer of complexity to the budget, and it's not one that's in the standard template that everyone else uses. And we try to stay consistent statewide, so everyone can pick up our budget, someone else's budget, and always line them up and see them. So councils don't usually deviate from the standard format that we usually have. That's the first reaction. Yeah.
All right, but sounds like something we could continue to discuss. You know, as Larry just raised then. Councillor Price.
And CEO, could you just address the comment around the FTE staffing that was in the 2019-20 budget and not included in the 2021 budget?
I'm not aware that it got dropped out, so I'll have to follow up on that. Usually that's a standard item that's in there. Again, we would have followed a standard template, so I'm surprised that it's not there. And just going back to the previous question about capital, I'm just aware too that we do put out a capital monitor each month to the community, and some of those projects, which include prior years on them, are shown on that capital monitor as well. So we do report on that separate. But I will follow up on the EFT stuff with no intention to not show it, so I'm not sure what's happened there.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Yeah, Councillor Shepherd.
I'm interested in Robin's bringing up about the waste management and the 4 rehab sites that he thinks we should be commencing to clear up. So I'm interested in having some sort of discussion about it at a briefing or later in this term if we can.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Director Ian Ellett, can you make a note that we would like more information about exactly what is going on with those sites and that money that's allocated and what happens to that when it's not being used and it's sitting, and, you know, clearly, as Robin pointed out, we're well over $3 million now. So we'll follow up with that and at a briefing to get more information. Is that okay?
Yes.
Well, it is okay. Yep. Thank you. Yes, CEO.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. I'm getting a text message saying that the EFTs are in there, but I haven't got the page number yet, but I'll try and get that to this meeting as soon as I have it, but apparently it is there. We just need to find where it is.
It's not. It's obviously not.
I couldn't find it, so
Yeah,
it wasn't an
and you were looking.
there.
But it's from Phil. It's from Phil, the man himself, so he usually knows what he's put in there.
We'll make sure you get that information, Robin. So we'll send you an email with that information. Take that on notice if that's okay.
Thank you.
And also hopefully make sure that when the budget comes out that it's much more it's easier to find. It's much clearer. Yeah. Councillor Goldsworthy.
I just want to say, I thank Robin once again. I know it's not a question, but every year he goes through the budget fairly thoroughly, and I appreciate it. And others make submissions. He actually goes through and has a good look at our budget. So thank you.
Yes, I think we do. We really appreciate it, Robin, and you do make a lot of effort to hold us to account, which is exactly what we should be held to. So thank you for that. Councillor Gaffney.
Just a question for the CEO. The landfill rehabilitation money, the 3.5 million, do we have that in the bank?
We have put aside a reserve. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's in the bank in any particular year.
You have not got a reserve, you've got a provision, which is a contingent liability that will be removed as you spend the money, but you haven't got a reserve.
Okay, Robin, I'm gonna have to ask you not to continue, just to be fair to everybody that haven't had the same access. But Councillor Gaffney, probably again, this is something we can take offline because we're not discussing the submissions tonight. So are you happy to raise that?
Sure.
In general business, perhaps in the council meeting, so it's public. You know, when we're talking about the budget.
I hope it is in the bank. It'd be nice.
Okay, so I'm going to thank Robin for coming along and making the effort to come up to the Pines, and take good care, Robin, during this very strange, difficult time we're in. And thanks for bringing those things to our attention regarding the budget.
It's always a pleasure, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Robin. All right. So I'm just going to go back to Matt as the administrator to see whether we're able to get Anna Nielsen into the meeting. It seemed that everything else worked, so perhaps it was something at Anna's end.
No, we don't have Anna.
Okay, all right. So we do have her submission, though. That was regarding if Anna's still watching, that was regarding the grapevines in Rutherglen. So I assume that's what Anna would be speaking to tonight. So we do have that submission, and Anna, if you're watching, sorry about whatever the issue was there, but your submission will be taken into account. Councillor Gaffney.
I just wondered, and perhaps Councillor Price might answer this. We have got grapevines in Martin Place in Chiltern, and I think the submission from Anna was to get grapevines in the main street of Rutherglen. So is that right, Councillor Price?
Vines of some description on the IGA WAW side of the street, yes.
Do you know about that, Ian?
Look, I know there's vines there. I don't know particularly what sort, and I've read the DR submission. I'm not sure whether that answers your question.
Okay, well, we'll again, you're just asking questions for clarification, Councillor?
Yes. I read the report from Anna, and I thought about the grapevines in Chiltern, that's all.
Okay, so at this stage we have heard from all of the other submitters, so that's it for the evening. I'm going to call this meeting to a close. Thank you all for attending. Thanks, Matt, for the administration, and Greg for organising people, and I bid you all